In the city of Vardhaman, there lived a wealthy merchant named Dantala. He held a great reception for his wedding, attended by the king, the queen, their ministers, and all the rich and influential persons in the city. Present at the reception was Garamba, a lowly sweeper in the royal household. When Dantala saw him occupying a seat reserved for the nobles of the king, he ordered his servants to throw him out of his house. Thus insulted, Garamba thought to himself, "I am a poor man and so cannot give a fitting reply to such a wealthy person as Dantala. I must somehow see that the king stops his favors to him." Then he hit upon a plan to take revenge on Dantala. One early morning when the king was still in sleep, Garamba, pretending to sweep the king's bedroom, began loudly murmuring, "Oh, how arrogant is Dantala! He has the cheek to lock the queen in his embrace." Hearing this, the king demanded to know whether what Garamba was murmuring is true. "Did Dantala embrace the queen?" "Oh, your majesty, I don't remember nor do I know what I was saying, because I was drowsy having spent the entire night in gambling," the sweeper told the king. Not satisfied with his reply, the king thought that it was possible that the sweeper had seen Dantala, who had equal access to the royal household as Garamba, embracing the queen. He remembered wise men saying that men were likely to talk in their sleep about what they did, saw, and desired in the day. Women were chaste because men were not within reach, or they were afraid of prying servants. Convinced that Dantala had indeed embraced the queen, the king barred Dantala from entering the royal household. The merchant began grieving his fate, though he had not done any harm to the king or his relatives even in his dreams. One day as Dantala was trying to enter the king's palace, he was barred by the king's men. Seeing this, Garamba told them, "You fools, you are barring the great Dantala who has won the king's favors. He is powerful. If you stop him, you will meet with the same fate as I did at the hands of Dantala one day." The merchant thought that it would do him good to make Garamba happy and win his confidence. One evening he invited the sweeper for tea and presented him with expensive clothes and told him, "Friend, I had never meant to insult you. You had occupied a seat I had set apart for the learned. Kindly pardon me." Pleased, the sweeper promised to win the king's favor for Dantala again. The next day, Garamba repeated the same drama of pretending to talk irrelevantly, raving that the king was eating cucumber in the rest room. "What nonsense are you talking? Did you ever see me doing such things?" the king demanded to know. "No, your majesty, I do not know nor do I remember what I was saying because I was drowsy having spent the entire night in gambling," the sweeper said. The king then realized that if what the sweeper had said about him was not true, what he had said about Dantala also could not be true. A person like Dantala could not have done what Garamba had told him. The king also found that without Dantala, the affairs of the state had suffered and civic administration had come to a standstill. The king immediately summoned the merchant to his palace and restored to him all the authority he had enjoyed before he fell out of king's favor. Damanaka resumed, "That is why we must know that pride goes before fall." Sanjivaka agreed. Taking him to the Lion King, Damanaka introduced Sanjivaka to Pingalaka. After exchanging pleasantries, the king asked him to relate his past and the purpose of staying in that jungle. On the bullock relating his story, the king said, "Friend, don't be afraid. I assure you that I will protect you from wild animals here, because even stronger animals feel insecure here." Since then, the king asked Karataka and Damanaka to look after the affairs of the state and began happily spending his time in the company of Sanjivaka. But the jackals were worried that after Sanjivaka had become a good friend of the king gave up his royal sports and pastime and became a saint. The jackal twins thought, "The king has stopped taking us into confidence after Sanjivaka became his best friend. He is also indifferent to his kingly duties. What shall we do now?" Karataka said, "The king may not heed our advice. But it is our duty to advise him on it if it is good for him. Elders have always held that even if the king is not willing to heed good advice, it is the duty of his ministers to offer him advice." "You are right," said Damanaka. "The mistake is mine. What happened to the sage and the jackal should not happen to us." Karataka then pleaded with him to tell the story of the sage and the jackal. Damanaka began telling him. This is the third story of 100 stories of the famous Panchtantra. The next video will be the story of the foolish sage and the jackal. Please be sure to subscribe to stay tuned. Thank you for watching.